Welcome to this week's episode of the Inside Kingston podcast, where experienced professionals, entrepreneurs, and community leaders based in Kingston upon Thames are invited on to share their story with us. I'm your host, Amir Rocha-Lima.
This week's episode of the Inside Kingston podcast is brought to you by Holland Harnham Wills, a financial planning and wealth management firm based in Kingston upon Thames. Holland Harnham Wills specialises in retirement planning for senior professionals and successful business owners. Visit hhw-uk.com to start feeling more relaxed and confident about your financial future.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Inside Kingston podcast. I'm joined today by Eric Guignard, chef and proprietor of the French Table. Eric and his wife Sarah opened the French Table in 2001. And over these last 18 years, the restaurant and the 3 branches of their patisserie, the French Tarte, have thrived as a result of their popularity with the local neighbourhood. From humble beginnings as a cook in the French army, through to working alongside some of the best Michelin-star chefs in France, what's interesting about Eric is how his career journey has influenced his relentless focus on building a great team around him and aiming to always delight his customers. So whether you're interested in knowing more about what it takes to become a great French chef, or would like to know more about building a successful restaurant that is intertwined with the local community, then I hope you enjoy this episode of the Inside Kingston podcast. Welcome, Eric Guignard, to the Inside Kingston podcast. I'm really excited about this conversation because not only am I a self-confessed foodie, and of course, therefore, talking to a French chef is always going to be good fun, but also because I believe your experience in running a successful restaurant offers many useful lessons that can be applied by other small and medium-sized businesses. But to kick this conversation off, I wouldn't mind going back in time if that's okay. So Where did you grow up?
Oh, I grew up next to Paris, actually.
Okay.
Versailles, if you know Versailles.
Yes.
It's a little town next to Versailles. Because my parents moved to Paris to work, like most of the people do, obviously. Mm-hmm. They go to big town and get some work.
Yeah.
So it was quite nice. I mean, it was quite almost countryside, but not.
All right.
Yeah. We had a farm still at the time where we get the milk. And so it was quite special.
Yeah, I bet. And how and when did you discover cooking?
That's a great question. Because my parents never cooked really. Well, on the weekends sometimes, but it's more when I was on my own on the evenings sometimes, and I just decided I was hungry and mixing stuff, and like you do when you're a kid, and I quite enjoy it. So I said, oh. And I always like to go to restaurants, and so I don't know where it came from. I can't say it was, totally from my grandmother or my parents. No, it's just a personal thing.
Yeah. And did you help with some of the farm duties? Did you guys raise chickens, or did you butcher your own meats or anything like that?
No, never. When I was because every summer I used to spend about 1.5 months in La Loire, where my dad's side is. They're from La Loire. And so I used to they raise rabbit and chickens and strawberries everywhere.
Oh, wow.
They had loads of fields around, and we used to kill the rabbits. That was quite wow. And take the skin off and sell the skin, the old way. So my granddad used to do all of that. So yes, I did that in the summer, but never killed anything.
Fair enough. France had national service when you were a teenager. Did you cook in the army?
Yeah, that's a sad thing. Yeah, I did.
What's French cooking like in the army?
It was good when I was there.
I believe so. But
no, it was not very nice, to be honest, because I wanted to be on we'll come to that later. But I really wanted to do the army, to do the Jeanne d'Arc, who's a boat who's sailing around the world, and you have to do longer as well for this, 18 months. But you have to know people. Funny enough. Yeah, I knew someone from my apprenticeship. My boss at the time, he said, because he sent his son there, sorry. And so I said, can I go as well? He said, yeah, I'll get you in. And so we tried, and it didn't work for me, funny enough.
Yeah.
So I ended up into a stupid little Well, it's not a small boat. I remember his name. It was her name was the Berneval.
Okay.
And it was a mine. We were looking for mines, you know. So we were just doing big circle in the middle of nowhere. And the sea was awful sometimes. The first time I couldn't even cook, so I had to do sandwiches, and it was a nightmare. And no, it was fun at the end of the time, but at the beginning it was just bloody hell. What's going on in there? Smelling diesel everywhere.
Oh God.
It was not a nice place to cook, I tell you.
I bet. And you mentioned apprenticeship there, Eric.
Yeah.
What was your route into professional cooking? Was it through an apprenticeship?
Yes, through an apprenticeship, yes.
Okay. Can you tell us a bit about that experience?
Well, it's a bad experience.
Okay.
Very tough.
A lot of chopping, a lot of peeling?
A lot of shopping, a lot of cleaning.
Oh God.
We used to have the copper pans, and I cleaned this every time the chef used to. Well, every time you were a bit naughty, you will have even the sink. Can you imagine that? The sink from the. To give you an idea, the sink from the washing up, they were massive. It was big one. I think I could have had a bath in there almost. There were two like this. They were in copper.
Oh God.
So it was just everything, and everything was a wood burner. There's no gas. It was all we had to light the wood, the stove every day, before the chef comes. It was just hell. I don't know how I got through 2.5 years, because I even stayed 6 months more. The place is beautiful. It's in Orgeval. It's next to Saint-Germain-en-Laye. It's a beautiful hotel with a big lake, and it's an amazing place. We used to have a lot of stars coming every summer. We had about 4 films done there. So there's always something fun.
Yeah.
But the work was just horrendous. The chef was a nightmare.
So
old-fashioned.
Very old-fashioned. Do you remember the first dish you plated in a professional kitchen?
I think it was smoked salmon with, I can't remember with what, to be honest. And we used to make this salmon en croûte as well. We used to have quite a few parties, so that's the first thing I remember doing.
Yeah.
Smoked salmon and I can't remember, but it was something simple, because when you start, they can't give you don't know nothing, so all you do at the beginning is peeling and giving stuff to the chef who's on top of you, and you can plate. So there's not much doing, really.
Yeah. So from that pretty tough time in an apprenticeship role in working with a pretty tough chef, of course, you then worked through quite a few Michelin-star restaurants as well. Can you tell us a bit about your career journey from that point as an apprentice till today, I guess? Yeah,
because the thing is, after I went to the army, and after apprenticeship, I went to the army. It was a bit so. And after I came back, and I said, I need to get a nice place to work, because I always, since 12, I always wanted to do my own restaurants, wherever it was, France, anywhere, because I always wanted to travel. So I like traveling, so it could have been anywhere. Mm-hmm. But that was the idea, my own. And so I did find a beautiful. I don't know if I gave you on the list, but it's called the Frampinot. Was there? It's on the Ile Saint-Louis in Paris.
Oh, wow, lovely place.
And I went there because there's so many restaurants in Paris, but it's easy to change and to learn. So I went there. It was not a Michelin-star restaurant, and I worked there for 18 months. Where I met one of my best friends, who becomes very important for why I moved there. He was English, and who was working in a bar. But after 16 or 18 months, I can't remember how much, and I said to the chef, I said, I need to go in the Michelin-star restaurant, because that's what I want to learn. I want to learn, how to make really good food. And it was amazing what we were doing, actually. But I said, I want the Michelin on my CVs and stuff. So I went to work at the Jules Verne, who was one Michelin-star restaurant at the time. That's on the Eiffel Tower? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, second floor, with Eric Guignard, who's an amazing chef. Really, really hard as well, my God. But, you learn, and there you learn quality and speed, because we used to do 70 covers, 80 covers for lunch, and the same for dinner. Wow. So you had to be really, and hours, don't even talk about the hours. We used to do 70, 80 hours a week.
Wow.
Yes, it was tough. But still, we had nice days off. But when we were at work, it was just bonkers. And but as I said, you learn to work good, fast, and efficient. It was just incredible. But you don't realize this when you're in. You realize this when you're out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so it was big brigade as well. A lot of chefs around, so it was nice.
Yeah.
And after I went to after I came to England, actually, I came to work to the Capital Hotel. Because my friend who I met in the Frampino, he said, "Oh, you should go to England because you can learn English." And I wanted to go to America, but I couldn't make it because I couldn't get a visa. At the time, there was a problem with the French and the American. And when I said I was a chef, I said, "No, you're not going. You're not coming to us." It's okay. So I came to England, worked for for about a year and a half to the Capital Hotel as a chef de partie. It was nice. I loved it, actually. London was amazing, living on Clapham Junction and taking the 19 bus every day. It was really good.
Yeah.
And after I went back to France, and I worked in the 2 Michelin-star restaurant in Jacques Cagnard, it's called. And it was very nice.
And at the time, I think that was known for its exceptional customer service, right? I mean, when I've read about that restaurant, it's just the experience that people just couldn't find anywhere else.
You can't afford anything. Everything needs to be here, and everything is exceptional. You pay the price. You come, you come in a place like this. It's just like being massaged, and you want to be, how do you say, pop.
Yeah, and I guess behind the scenes in the kitchen, the chef also had the same etiquette.
Same etiquette. Everywhere in the world, you step in, it's all perfect.
Wow, great learning.
Well, you aiming for perfection. So,
in fact, could you tell us a little bit about your time at the Orient Express? Because that just sounds like an amazing experience.
That was amazing, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how is it cooking? Does that feel like back in your army days when you're cooking in sort of a moving vehicle firstly? And I'm sure the kitchen setup has got to be constrained.
So you're right. Yeah, actually, you're always on movement, so it's like a boat. And you don't cook you do cook, but you don't prep on the train.
Okay.
Because we live in Venice, and we got a kitchen there. So we prep everything there before the trip, and that's it. We just put it together for the trip.
Yeah, okay.
And you're on call 24 hours. So, but saying that, nobody wakes you up at 2 o'clock in the morning and said, "I want a lobster." It happened twice in a year or so.
Yeah.
Never happens really.
Amazing. So then, I'm speeding up the clock a bit, Eric, but we get to 2001 when you and your wife Sarah open the French Table.
Yeah.
This year, you've been in business for 18 years.
Yeah.
When you reflect on this accomplishment, what do you think is the key to your success?
The things, if you run your own business, you never stop. So it's always being consistent. And I always say to all the chefs, if you do good, you do very good or bad, be consistent, If you go to a restaurant, especially in a restaurant, it works. If you're McDonald's, you do be consistent. It's that. So I suppose it's consistency.
Yeah.
And still, and the thing when you have a restaurant is creative. And, you go to work and say, "Oh, well, what am I going to do?" It's never the same. It's like you got 150 people coming every day. They're always different. Yeah. Of course, there's people coming back.
And
so it never stops.
Is the fact that you work with seasonal ingredients also makes it quite creative, right? Because
exactly. Yeah.
You're at the mercy of what's available.
Exactly. We change the menu by the seasons, and even more, because even during the season we change the dishes more. So.
Yeah. So of course, there's one signature dish of yours though that I've got to mention, which is the trilogy of pork belly.
Yes.
And I understand that over the years you've even taken it off the menu, but regular customers have said, "Eric, we want this back on."
Yeah, exactly.
So what is it that makes that dish special?
The good thing is I do any garnish I want. It's just like the pork. It comes in 3 pieces, but we get the whole pork, half pig we get, a middle white pig. And we just create anything we want when we want. So it's amazing. I like it because I do what I want.
That's amazing, yeah.
And people are just trusting me, and this is, a nice compliment.
Yeah. So, Eric, with that in mind, how do you stay ahead of the game in such a competitive market like the restaurant business? I know you mentioned consistency, but how do you think about the what next?
What next? That's a good question, because the game is moving even faster now. In catering, it's all changing really. So you have to try to think ahead, as you know, in any business. But the way I'm doing it is just anticipating what's going to happen, and it's all about what you feel really. You can't. There's no right and wrong. It's just keep it on top of of your restaurant. You know, it's just you can't stay still.
Yeah.
But there's no. I can't tell you how I'm doing that, because there's no. It's just feelings really.
Yeah, and the impression I get when I've been to your restaurant, Eric, is that you and your team, and of course Sarah, you are very much in touch with the customer. So is there an element of you also can anticipate what they want because they are talking to you on a regular basis?
Yeah, I think you're right saying that. But, we're still working in it as well. So it's just that make it easier as well. But the main thing, a restaurant is easy in one sense. It's consistency, as I always say, and make sure everything is the level you want it. And the customers, we rely on customers, so we have to love them, massage them, and we do the same inside the kitchen with the food, and it works.
Yeah.
And we got a very good team. We got a wife and a husband.
Yeah.
So
it helps that you guys
it
know how to work
helps
together. I definitely want to give Sarah a mention too, because she, of course, is in charge of front of house and is head sommelier. And I understand that she's been a judge at the Sommelier Wine Awards before as well. But I just wanted to ask you one thing in particular. Could you help our listeners understand the process you guys go through to matching wine with food? And maybe even some tips for people to think about that, even if it's for their own dinner parties or...
But you have to know the wine very well. I think this is well, you have to know the wine very well. And Sarah is an expert. She's amazing with this. And I just say, well, that's what we get to do. And she comes up with a wine and we'll match that. If she's not sure, we'll do the dish and try it. We're not always doing that. No. Just if she wasn't sure, but most of the time, 90% of the time, she said, yeah, I'll put this with that. She will go. And it does work all the time. So.
Yeah, so there's some experimentation.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's the only way it works.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we do the opposite.
Okay.
We do wine. One supplier will do one evening, will come and say, that's the one we're going to have, and I have to do a menu going with.
All right, okay.
So it works both ways.
That's very interesting, yeah. So in 2011, you opened the French Tarte, which is a casual patisserie, boulangerie and cafe. And you've now expanded it into 3 locations in Surbiton, Teddington and Victoria Park. How did you even come up with that concept?
Yes. The thing is, the whole started because I'm a bread lover. Mm-hmm. So I always make bread. Since we had the restaurant, I was a head chef before somewhere else. I make the bread. I always make my own bread. And the next door went for sale, and I said, well, maybe I should get it and do a little. It was supposed to be just a bakery before, just sell a bit of bread, and it ended up to be what it is today, an amazing pastries, bread. Well, you can have coffees, and this is how it all started, really. And after all, well, let's open another one. But there's no more than let's do it,
Yeah.
Because I can't stand still. I always have to do too much, I think.
That's your creative side speaking
Yeah.
loud and clear there. It seems to me like you guys create a sense of community amongst your team. But of course, you're a community restaurant and you create a sense of community from your customers who keep supporting you guys in terms of showing up to the restaurant. I wonder if there's anything in there. So is this on purpose? How do you think about creating an environment so that the team perform the way they do?
But you have to. We are people's people. So we have to. The team is our first focus, and that will relate to the customers. You have to make like any workplace, even more in your restaurant, because people have to be served and happy. So if the staff is not happy, you can't get good service, can you?
Yeah, and I'm wondering this also from the point of view of the contrast between English culture and French culture when it comes to the professions inside a restaurant. So a professional waiter, I think, is seen in a more it's seen in a different light than they are seen in the UK. Not only from the public looking at them, but how people feel about being waiters, about and taking that as a profession. Is there anything there that you try to instill in your restaurant that's bringing that sort of French look or outlook on it?
Yeah, we try, but in France, as you said, it's a profession. In anywhere, France, Italy, and Spain, it's a profession. In the UK, it's more a part-time job. It's becoming more and more in the last 15 years, but yeah, that's what we try to do, that's being professional,
So every time I speak to local businesses, it seems like they find strength in numbers and in partnering in some form of strategic capacity with other businesses like them. So with that in mind, could you tell us a bit about the Alliance of Independent Restaurants and how you got involved?
It all started with a few friends, 3, 4, 5 restaurants, and we used to meet on Mondays for coffee and talk about, obviously, more problems than good things. And this is how it all started. So now it's still the same people doing it, but it's more becoming a little business now. And we're trying to help independent restaurants. That's the whole thing.
And is this help that can be had from the behind-the-scenes stuff? So can you guys, in numbers, get better, say, insurance deals for your group of restaurants, better procurement deals via the purchasing?
Exactly, procurement, insurance, everything we can help is on the website, and it's all, it's all of this. We do meetings as well to help talk meetings to. If people have questions, and it's very interesting, and I think a lot of people should go on that. All independents should go on that and make a bigger impact. So.
Throughout your career, obviously, you've gone through a number of different style of restaurants as well. In your view, how do you think the dining scene has changed over these years?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's going in the last 10 years. 10 years, you went a bit more casual, and the mid-market restaurant was a bit up, and suddenly it all changed. It's changing again. You got the very low-market restaurant where any family can go and with kids, and after you got the mid-market is not so good, I think, at the moment. And the upper market, like we are a bit more, is still going strong because people want to treat themselves for special occasion, and that's why I think we'll stay like this for a while. And it's good to move again. In 5 years' time, because it's always changing. We're always trying to change the way we tend to eat out, and I think the takeaways are taking a big step now as well. It's becoming more and more popular. Takeaways, people are more. It's so easy to order food online now. Everywhere, you just what do you do? I'm ordering online, Uber Eats or any delivery system,
Yeah.
I can't do that. It doesn't work with my food. It's a shame.
Yeah.
I could expand the restaurant without moving it.
Yeah. But it seems to me that there's an element in what you're saying there, which is you recognise this already more than most, is you can't be all things to all men. So therefore, you might as well just be really good at what you do, and people feel like they're treating themselves when they go to a restaurant like this.
That's where we are. People treat themselves when they come to us, That's what we want.
Yeah, makes sense. What does a French chef cook for his family? Do you do the cooking at home?
Always.
And I know you have 2 boys. Do you get them involved in cooking as well?
Yeah, we do a bit less now. They're older, but we used to a lot. We used to make fresh pastas, and but I cook all the time. I've got a wood pizza oven in my garden. I would make pizza fresh. I make everything from scratch. If we buy a takeaway, it's really rare in my house. But that's me because I like to cook.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way it works. And the boys, even if I'm not there, I will cook them fresh and they reheat it. I'll show them how to. They got the timing on the thing, put it back 10 minutes or 180 degrees, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And they do that easy.
Brilliant.
They're 15 and 14, and they do that.
Fantastic. Yeah. Oh, that's very good. Eric, what next for you and your businesses? Are there any projects in the pipeline that you can tell us about?
No, there's no project to be honest. Just
Okay.
make sure we're on the right track, and that's the next step is just to keep. Because as we said before, there's so many changing, so we want to get stronger and stronger and make sure we're in the right place.
Makes sense. Okay. So as we start to wrap up, I'd like to ask you a few quick fire questions that our listeners are always interested in. What do you do to relax outside of the office?
I cycle, I sell
All right.
yachts. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Who are some of the people you admire and why?
Admire Alain Ducasse, who's why? Because he's a very good chef, one of the best chefs for me in the world.
He's at the Dorchester, right?
Well, he's everywhere, to be honest. He's got restaurants everywhere, but I like his business mind as well. I'm very impressed with his business mind.
Okay. Are there any books that you've recently read that you would recommend to our listeners?
I'm pretty boring. I read selling books all the time.
Okay.
I don't read that much. I listen to quite a few audiobooks, but
Yeah.
nothing comes to me like this. No. But mainly food magazine, food books, or selling books.
So, a side question on that. How does a French chef read a cooking book or a cooking magazine? Because I believe that my listeners and I read it very different to you. We actually read it to try to find the recipe and follow the recipe. Is that the same?
No, I just flick through, and I just love cooking books. I stopped buying them. I used to buy everything. Oh, that's a new one. I got it. But now, because everything is online, I stopped being. I don't have enough space anyway in the house now. My shelf is full of cooking books. That's what I've got really.
Amazing.
Plus selling books, and plus all my wife's, triathlons books. So
Yeah.
we don't have much time to read, to be honest. So.
Busy couple.
Yeah, busy.
Absolutely. Finally, where can people go to find more about you and your business?
But the main thing is to go to the website, thefrenchtable.co.uk, Instagram, Facebook. We're pretty everywhere.
Okay, and I'll make sure that I link all of those resources on the show notes. So, Eric, thank you for joining us here on the Inside Kingston podcast. It's been a pleasure to get to know your story.
Thank you very much.
That wraps up another episode of the Inside Kingston podcast. Make sure to check out our guests' website, pay them a visit, and help spread the word about what they're doing. If you have any questions or know someone who should be a guest on the show, please feel free to get in touch. I would also love it if you could go to iTunes and leave us a review and a 5-star rating. We work hard to bring on some great guests, and getting a review from you is one way to help the podcast rate well on iTunes so that others can find and enjoy the show too. Thanks for listening.